Why they called it a conflict, it was always referred to as a conflict. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's a war.
Yeah.
You do everything you do in a war, and they called it a conflict. It didn't make sense to me, but who am I? I'm just a GI following orders.
Yeah.
So they sent us to south of the island of Kogito, where they had the North Korean prisoners.
Ah.
And I was there until it was time to come back to the States, and going through the spiel to get us to re-up. I didn't want any part of that.
Where you were on the island where the prisoners of war were for Korea, did you guard them at all, or?
I didn't have to pull any guard duty because I was in headquarters company.
Ah, okay, okay.
It was really good duty.
So,
I did have to go on board the Navy ship when they signed the truce, going from the island north to where they released them. We had 4 hours of duty on, 4 hours off.
really?
During the trip.
Yeah.
Coming back to the island, free time all the time.
And then you came back to the States?
Back to the States, and they sent me to New Jersey to indoctrinate me again. And nope, don't want any part of it.
So that was your...
It was good. It was a good 2 years. I sound very bitter, but it was a good 2 years, discipline-wise. I learned a lot, but as far as making the Army my career, no. And I think back, hindsight's always 50-50. I could have had a Army retirement for 20 years when I was 41. I wasn't thinking.
Well, you wanted to move on.
And I was glad for those 2 years. I'm glad I could serve my country. But not the Army way.
So when you get back and you muster out of the Army, what did you do next?
Got married.
Okay, great.
My wife, wife-to-be, she had all the plans made. We were married the day after Christmas.
Perfect.
In a blizzard in Sinclairville.
Ah, okay.
And she had all the wedding plans made, and married a wonderful woman. She's been gone. She passed away 12 years ago.
Okay.
But the Lord knew all about that. He had my life planned. He still does today.
Sure.
But
So what did you do for a living then, Mr. Murdock?
started out, we lived in, she went to Fredonia College. She got a job teaching in Orchard Park, New York, right out of college. And I got a job with Ford Motor Company in Lackawanna. I don't know whether they're still there or not.
They have a stamping plant. Yes, they do. Yeah.
But I worked there several months. We came back to Jamestown. I got a job with Chautauqua Hardware. I guess they've gone out of business.
They have, yes.
But anyways, I got a job there. We bought a small house in Greenhurst.
Do you have children?
I have. We have three daughters. Two of them are here in Frewsburg. One's in Phoenix, Arizona in the hot weather. Darcy, Diane, Denise.
Perfect. Love it.
I have the three daughters. I have eight grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
All wonderful. Wonderful, they're scattered. Arizona, Maryland. The one daughter was in Pennsylvania. She came back. Her and her husband's got his master's degree in Christian counseling, and he is excellent. He's doing that full time. He's back here. He's doing that full time. And if I had to have counseling, and maybe I do, I don't know.
I don't think so.
He would be the one I'd go to.
How exciting! That's great. You know, to have that family like that. What a big family you have, and I'm sure you're proud of that.
They all love the Lord. As far as I know, at their age, they've accepted Christ as their Savior, try to live the Christian life before them.
Sure.
It isn't easy.
Yeah.
But the Lord knows all about that. Life goes on, and the Lord has my life planned, and I just have to follow.
Yep. That's I love the attitude. It's a very good attitude.
When we lived in Greenhurst, the people we bought from built a house next door, and he came to me, I don't know how many times, he said, Don, his name was Andy Oberg from Sweden. He said he needs a man. He had moved his business to Jamestown from Cleveland, and I didn't do much about it. He said, he came to me and he was desperate. He said, Don, Andy needs a man, and you would work out for him. So I went and talked to Andy. Started working for him. And I was with him a few years. And he approached me one day and he said, have you ever considered being your own boss, owning a company? I said, Well, not really. He was talking retirement. I only been with him 5 years.
Sure.
I didn't know the business. I didn't know what to order, how to order. So we talked to attorneys. He held paper. And he surprised me one morning. He came in and he said, they didn't have any children. He said, we're going to retire. You ready to take over? I said, well, I said I would, and I meant that. And so he held paper. He retired. I have a business to run, and I have no idea how to run a business. But I did. I didn't have finances to pay someone, so I put in long hours until I built up some capital. Had a man in mind. In fact, he's still in business out in Ellington.
What was the name of the business?
Well, it was Oberg Metal Products.
Okay.
He said, anybody in your family got an O in their name? I said, well, my wife was an Olson. That's it. We'll call it, how about M&O Murdock Olson? He said that people may think that Oberg is still, part of the business, but he wasn't. So I told my father-in-law, I said, if this business fails, it's Olson's fault, not Murdock. But the Lord was good, and I never had any desire to get big. I think the most I ever had was maybe 5 men. And I was, every time I would hire a man, I'd hire a problem along with it. And I had that business for almost 25 years. And a man that I hired, and I say is still in business out in Ellington, he was a mechanic, or a mechanical genius. He could see things instantly in his head. He didn't need any paper or drawing. He just knew what to do. So he apparently sensed that I wasn't too happy after the years I'd had it. And he approached me one day and he said, have you ever considered selling the business? So I said, let's talk. So we talked to the right people. I sold to him. I held paper for him. 2.5 years later, he's bankrupt. I come out of it good, I think. He only took me for a few $100s. He showed me the paper people he owed money to, and I thought 2.5 years, this isn't possible. He tried to get too big too fast. And as soon as I found out about it, I went right to Ohio to the big account that I had and sat down with Howard, who has since passed away, across from a small table. And I said, Howard, I just found out about this. I don't have any details, but here's the story. And Howard and I had a good relationship. And he said, Don, if you take the business back, which I did, he said, he pointed his finger at me. He said, I'll back you 100% to get you back in business. That's the kind of relationship we had.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I did get it back. My son-in-law from here in Frewsburg was with Vac Air, who was going out of business. He came with me. It took us 2 weeks just to get the place back in working order, the equipment cleaned up, and it was a mess. And Eric from Vac Air came with me. And I eventually sold the business to Eric. Again, I held paper. He didn't have anything. So he had it until, several years. He did very well. He paid me off early in about 2.5 years. And he's since retired, but he good man, excellent worker. And I have to say that he's my son-in-law. No, really, he's a good man. And I guess he got burned out like I did. And he brought in a man who was an auctioneer. They priced all the equipment. He had a sale. I mean, sold everything. He didn't expect to sell everything, but he did. It went priced right, and sold all the equipment right down to the bare walls. And well, in a sense, retired. Sold the building, which was fine with me. It was his business at that time, at that point. And he's got a job working, I guess you'd say part-time, for a small company in Frewsburg. I can't tell you the name of it, but he He's working most of the time 4 days a week, doing a good job for them. It's a family type business, and he said some of the help shouldn't be. Just because they're family, they're working or putting their time in. So, Eric, I love the man, fine Christian man. Well, he's married to my youngest daughter. So, life goes on.
Well, I appreciate the story, and I got to tell you something, that I know Eric Wright very well. He's a great singer, and we actually did some legal work for them. I'm a lawyer, and we did some legal work for M&O. And I never had a chance to meet you, but he would talk about you very favorably. He liked you a lot, still does. And but anyways, small world. It's a small world here.
Good man.
Exactly.
Good man.
Now, after you got done with that, did you take on any hobbies? Did you do anything outside of the business?
Not really. I was the type that when I was at work, I was at work. When I left to go home, I left everything, the problems there. Some people can't do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But I learned early on, don't take your problems home.
Yeah.
Your wife can't help you. She was a school teacher. Yeah, we have a good relationship. His wife is retired. She was business office of Fruitsburg School. 32, 33 years. She's retired from that. And she, bless her dear heart, she looks after her dad. She is handling all of my finances, paying my bills here, and takes me, well, I say shopping. She does shopping for me. But I'm at their place. I was there for Thanksgiving. The daughter that was in northern central Pennsylvania moved here from there, her and her husband, after he got his master's degree in Christian counseling. She's good at working with elderly, very elderly, sickly elderly people. She's good at that. She missed her calling, I think, but she was with a family in Bustye. The people had a farm. He died, and the wife was, excuse me, quite elderly and sickly, and Diane just loved going in and taking care of her, spending nights with her. And she's good at that.
It's a great story you're sharing here. And throughout this time period, did you get a chance to do much traveling with your wife? Did you do I know you're involved in the church. Did you do missionary work? Did you do anything along those lines?
Not so much. Well, yes and no. We were both on the committee when the church decided to start a Christian day school. We were both on that original committee. We did a lot of visiting at that time, but I did more than she did because when I was involved with missions work. I went to Africa 4 times, 3 times.
Where did you go?
Oh. I went 3 times to actually work on the mission field and painting, building, whatever, remodeling. The first trip, I was in charge of that group. We had some teenage boys who wanted to go and had their parents had the money for them to go, and they put their heart into the work. They worked 110, 120 degrees. Didn't matter to them. They were there to work, and they did. The second trip, I think we went back to the same field. The third trip, I went to a different country in Africa. And then the fourth trip, this daughter of mine and her husband, they were missionaries for 4, 5, 6 years. My wife and I went to that country to visit them and to see the work they were doing. And then the fourth trip, my wife and I went. We took our niece with us. That was just a visit when Paul and Diane were missionaries in that part of the country, to see how they lived, and that was interesting because you think, a lot of the times you think of Africa, and there were their slum areas, box, whatever they could put together for a house. They lived a different life there than when they were on the mission field, or when they were these other mission stations where that was an eye-opener.
Yeah. Now, were you part of a congregation that went over there, a general conversation, or just your local church?
Just our local church.
And the name of the church is, what congregation did you attend?
Bethel Baptist. You come back from the first 3 visits, actual missionary stations, with a new and fresh outlook on the United States. Right. You come back and you say, you know, Lord, I haven't got it so bad here after all. When the one station, dirt poor. The average income at that time, I think, was around $300 a year. You try to put yourself in that position. You can't. How can they live like that? Yet they were happy. The women did a lot of the work, but thank God for the United States.
So Don, this is for your family, this film here, and here you are, 91, lovely family, grandkids, great-grandkids. Is there a message you would like to give to them based on your 91 years of good living? I think they know Dad and Grandpa and Great-Grandpa well enough that what he says, he's lived. And I have. I've tried. I've failed. I'm not perfect. But they know where Grandpa's coming from, where Dad is coming from, where Dad's been. And I wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change it for anything. I say thank you, Lord, for this place. I never expected to be living in a place like this. It's just, somebody asked me just the other day, did you ever expect you'd end up in your later years living in a place like this where you get the care you do? No, I never thought of it. I didn't think it would ever come to that, but praise God it did. Is there any question I've left out?
You've done very well.
Well, I thank you for your time in coming down and talking about you and your family and your experience. I'm nothing really in the sight of God. I'm just another person, but one that loves the Lord and has tried to live that Christian life before them, and my family knows that. They know where I stand, and well, I thank you. I thank you for taking your time. I salute you for your service to the country and for being such a good Christian.
Well, thank you.
It's been great. Thank you, Don.